Okay, we are recording. It is Wednesday, April 7th, 7:04 p.m. We'll call the Economic Development Commission meeting to order. Present from the commission are myself, Renee Daly, Sandy Olerhead, Christine DeVoe, Laura Parker, and Denise Luciano. Did I miss anyone on the phone? It's very quiet, like everybody muted themselves, so it's like I'm not even like on.
Do you need some background noise? We have a dishwasher going.
Yes, we need something. So we have a few items here. Paul, I think you have several of them actually under you. But we have some business updates and interests, and Ida, just an update on the marijuana establishments with the bylaw, and then some updates from Paul on the master plan session, MassDOT property rezoning, and then we were going to talk about the business survey. I don't see Michael though, so I don't know if we'll do that, and then the business guide review. The water and sewer project timeline, I completely spaced on that. I have to send you guys, I have to go through and send you guys the email, so we won't be talking about that tonight. I'll send you the email so you have a chance to read it, and then we can decide if we want to invite them for further discussion. Okay, so with that, a couple of business updates. I know we had an email about a change with the meats. Why am I drawing a blank? Jack sent it to us.
Charlie.
Oh,
Thank
Charlie.
you so much.
Charlie store.
If I don't write it down, I don't like.
It's not Arby's.
Right. I know. I was thinking of their website. They have like the the whole like display of the meats. That's why I'm like,
They have the meats.
Yes. So I don't know how Jack received any information on Charlie, but something about they were closing up shop due to some insurance issues that may or may not be accurate, but I know we were going to reach out. I don't know, Paul or Laura, if you're able to make contact and get any information to see how we can support them.
Laura, do you have anything?
I don't. Sorry, Paul. I kind of assumed they had I posted to the page directly to the owner. I forget what her name is.
Karen?
Yeah, maybe. Everything's just
I know.
And
it'll all come back to you on April 11th.
No, I don't think so. All gone. So reached out to her on a couple of posts, in a couple of comments, and just said, we want to help. We think we can help you find a new location. Please call Paul DiGiuseppe, gave the number. And I assumed that she had reached out to you because she had actually liked one of the comments.
Not yet.
Okay.
And I was going to go out there today, but I've been hearing what I don't know if they're rumors or not about some tenant ownership issues. And I'm a little leery of, now if she initiates with me, that's perfectly fine.
Right.
I was just a little, once I heard that, I was like, I don't know that I want to walk into that. If that's happening, I don't know that it is, but certainly I'm glad Laura, that you did that. And again, if she reaches out, we have some tools on our economic development page that we can point to. And then, I know that there's that property on Old Colony that had been talked about. So I have those ready to go if they're, if they reach out.
Is that the one Mike Units was?
Yeah. Yes.
Do you know what kind of repair that building is in?
I don't.
Okay.
I don't. But I can certainly pull that information. Well, not that. I could talk to Nick, our building commissioner, and see if he's happened to have been in there or could pull records on it.
Yeah, I'd hate to have them set up and find out they're in a similar situation where, there's a storefront in that strip mall where the Roma Pizza is.
Yeah.
Where the barbershop used to be.
Mm-hmm.
That we at least know. We at least know a business is able to get a insurance in there. So, and it keeps them over in Charlie. But yeah, the post by the owner was, the good thing was is, so, by posting as the EDC, got a lot of good hits, likes, recognition, and comments. So, because a lot of people were on there commenting like, why doesn't the town do something about this? So, so I think that helped. But yeah, I agree with you in terms of the update from the owner saying, lawyers are involved. As soon as lawyers are involved, you're probably better off just waiting to see how it plays out.
Right.
And we did our due diligence. We put the effort out there. We offered.
And we're here. If anybody wants our help, we're here to help out.
And so for those of you who, because I just realized it was, Jack had sent, I think maybe Mike and I an email about, let me just give you a bit of background about that. He had heard that the Chartley Country Store, is that the actual name of it? Or am I butchering that? That is the name. That there was an insurance issue with the building and they were potentially closing. So I had sent that to Laura and Paul and Michael to see if anybody had an opportunity to reach out and wanted to get further information. As part of that discussion, Mike Units had emailed a property. I couldn't even tell what that property, it looked like it was on 123 somewhere, but I wasn't quite sure.
It is.
Where that
it's the old Uncle's Ed's restaurant. They have the ice cream counter inside. Hasn't been open for a few years.
Yeah, it doesn't ring any bells with me. Is it like down by is it down by the car wash, like LJ's or
Yes.
Yes, it's near the car wash, and before that it used to be Brian's restaurant for many years.
They actually had good breakfasts there. There's a house in the back, and I know, from what I understand, they've had other things interested in going in there, and then the owner I guess the owner who lives in the back, or I'm not quite sure, or if they rent out the house in the back, has changed their mind and pulled out at the last minute.
Okay. So has that building been vacant for a couple of years?
We're 2, if not 3 at this point, I'm thinking.
I've been, working here almost getting there 3 years, and that's been empty, that space.
It's been a while.
Okay. Okay, well, good to know. So at least we reached out. She has your information, Paul, and if if she wants to reach out and there's something we can do to help either find another location or help in some other way, we'll certainly do that.
Also, Renee, this is what the property looked like back in 1998. Wow.
Peter, like you had that readily available?
Yes, and this is what the property looked like in the 30s, and it came from the archives of the Sun Chronicle from Peter J. Wiggins.
Wow.
He had a picture of last night, a picture of Joe Fernandez from what year was it, Peter?
1985, 86.
Wow.
That was on the planning board meeting?
Yeah, it was Joe and Oren's last meeting last night.
Oh, that's awesome. I'll have to see that later. Okay, well, thank you guys for doing that. I appreciate it. I just saw it come through. I had no time to do any sort of research on it. Anything else from an update perspective? I think just for this group's awareness, the TIF for the Northeast project, the one for Home Depot, the select board approved that. The FinCom, I think it's going to be either it was on the agenda for Monday or it's going to be on. I wasn't able to make Monday's meeting. Peter, were you on that meeting on FinCom on Monday? It was on Monday. I don't know the results. I don't know what happened during the meeting though. I don't know if anybody else was on there, but I do know that the select board, the meeting prior to that, did approve it.
Hello, hi. My name's Chris Keys. I'm on the call here today. I was on that finance committee meeting on Monday. They did approve the TIF for the Home Depot. So that was some good news there.
Excellent. Thanks, Chris. Appreciate the update.
You're welcome.
Okay, the other thing, so the marijuana establishments, similar there, the select board has approved the bylaw changes. Paul, that's on the agenda for this upcoming Monday, I believe, for the planning board. I mean,
No.
for FinCom.
Because planning board recommended for it as written, and so FinCom, it'll be going to FinCom on Monday.
Okay. So that should be an easy one, so we shouldn't have any problems with the changes. And Paul, just for the record, I presented it much better to the select board than I did that late night at the planning board meeting. So
Fine, you did fine.
so
My
I shouldn't have
apologies
any.
for putting you after the two zoning.
No, hey, you know what? I wasn't on the call for the 2 or 3 hours that it was, so I'm fine with that. I was doing other work anyway. It was just, like when you're not like ready to go at 10 o'clock at night or whatever time it was, it just the firing happens a little slower in the process. Okay, so I think anybody have any updates or interests under the business items that you wanted to mention? Okay, Paul, do you want to give us an update first on the master plan session overview?
Yeah, I can't remember which, I think I know a number of you were on it. Okay, Christine's raising her hand. Other folks? Laura, your husband was on it.
Yeah, he took my spot. I
Okay.
registered and then he couldn't find the registration. I had another issue I had to deal with. So he took my spot.
They did a terrific job. They got a lot of compliments from people on this. They talked about transportation and water and sewer. I think the best thing to do is if you go to the master plan website, they've already, when the public's been going in and updating the maps, they're showing up now. So you're seeing people's comments, and I saw a bunch. I know it's from you, Chris. I know your comments. Oh, actually, Christopher Keys. So anything bike related, I know it was him. But they're showing up now, so you can actually see them in real time. We won't see the surveys yet, but those will, I think, rather than me describing it to you, but what the goal was for people to identify where the gaps are. And so those maps, in fact, they did a brilliant thing. So like when Chris was giving his thoughts on where gaps were in the bike system, they were actually making those changes on the fly, and you could see them, and they're recorded. So, I think we had a really successful one. And so that's the last of the public input work sessions. And we expect by May, we will do one more live event, but it's to release the draft of the plan. So I've got to figure out, how to workshop it through this, through the EDC. I mean, the planning board needs to take an action, and that's through our charter. So obviously everything has to go through them, but I think it's going to be real important for us to pass sections of that plan along to different departments and boards so that they're aware of what's in it. So hopefully they will be able to run with it once the plan is adopted.
That's great. And then what came out of the water sewer discussion?
I don't know that there was any big highlights that came out of that particular, other than I think we need to keep growing it. Luckily, fortunately, the audience was really good. There wasn't any, I didn't, you didn't hear anything about how long the project took on 123. They were productive, but I think it's just, needing to expand it more and serving more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was wondering if like any specific areas were prioritized over the others, right, for us to consider too and growth. Go ahead, Denise.
I was gonna say, I think he did a pretty good job of kind of keeping the conversation focused on showing folks how to add the input onto the master plan versus like kind of collecting everyone's input and doing it for them. And so I think one of the important things to remember, and I think I think actually Joe might have asked this question, Laura, was the more people that go on and like some of the comments, I guess the higher in the priority list it becomes. That's right, Paul?
Yeah. Mhm.
So it's kind of
So-
like the electronic stickers when we attended in person.
Yeah. So like a lot of the things that I would have given as input were already on there. So now I just haven't gone back in to kind of like a lot of the areas that I was had in my mind.
It's like what Reddit does on their website. You know, the more you like something, it moves up, and conversely, things go down. So, you know, it'll just tell us, it'll just give all of us a sense of where the public or the people who took the survey were on their priorities.
Okay. How was the attendance? Like how many folks?
We had over about 30, which was pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah, for a town our size, that's a pretty good turnout.
That's good. Awesome. Well, thanks. Thanks for the update. How was the MassDOT rezoning discussion?
They recommended for it.
As is?
As is. You know, it was interesting because, well, last night, so they did it last night. Representative Barrows was on the call, speaking in support of it, and he did a really good job of explaining, you know, what's happening at the state and in particular this region in terms of life sciences. You know, and you know, there was a concern 2 weeks ago. You know, some of the board members and some members of the public were concerned about, they would have preferred commercial zoning versus industrial. But what we focused on yesterday was, you know, with industrial, you can do an Alnylam, which is actually a manufacturing plant. It's a life sciences, but it's the manufacturing portion of it. You couldn't do it in commercial. And considering its location, it was just a really, according to, you know, Representative Barrows, you know, this is one of the last great sites along 495 between here and the Cape that are available. You know, they're either developed or they're wetlands, or, you know, so, and then the state, the Tom Cox, who presented to us, I don't know, a month ago, did a great job of describing, you know, the differences between the two zoning districts, and then talked more about how, you know, that life sciences right now in Massachusetts, I mean, Massachusetts, the metro area of Boston has the largest life sciences industry in this country. But that's mostly the research arm because of all, you know, the relationship with the universities and colleges. But what's happening is the manufacturing end of it is actually moving west and south of the metro area for a number of reasons. And this could be our great opportunity again to get a, you know, to get another Alnylam or something like that. So anyway, it was good. They actually voted unanimously for it last night, so it'll be going to FinCom Monday as well. You know, there was objection from some of the neighbors, particularly from Red Mill, but I think, you know, actually Tom did a great job of identifying the different protections that we have in our bylaws, and you know, we'll see, you know, how it continues to go. But it was really, doing some research on this, it was really eye-opening about the life sciences aspect of it. That we have a real opportunity at that site, or even, you know, maybe with Blue Star with phase 2 possibly too. But you know, we also just need to be thinking, because I've looked at the, you know, vacant land in industrial, and you know, there's not much left. There's only about 15 parcels left, and I won't bore you with the details, but I know there's about 270 gross acres left, but not even close to what actually could be built. You know, it might be 150, 175 acres, but in the last year, the amount of absorption of industrial development in Norton, and the same thing throughout the state, it's outpacing everything other than residential or statewide. But office is grinding to a halt, new office development, new retail development grinding to a halt. Very slow growth, but it's industrial, and and a big part of that is these life sciences. So anyway, I think that's going to be a key part of the story of this property, but I think it's something we need to just also keep our eyes on proactively.
And Paul, what were the primary benefits that were shared on having it commercial versus industrial?
Well, in addition to some of those uses that would really be something of benefit to the town, industrial tends to have it does have larger buffers. So while Red Mill is buffered by the town property, that town property is about 280 feet wide. The zoning bylaw says that you still have to be, industrial has to be at least 100 feet away from a residential zoning district. So that building actually has to be, even though we own it, it's zoned R80, that building still has to be 100 feet away from that. So, that's a big thing. There was concerns that adult use, I mean, not adult use, but adult-oriented businesses could go there, but our bylaw says you can't place an adult-oriented business within 1,000 feet of another zoning district. Well, this whole site's within 1,000 feet of other zoning districts, so you won't see.
That sounds like
huge,
that sounds like our first marijuana bylaw.
Right. The intent is the ultimate outcome is it keeps things out. It's allowed, but not really. So, and then there's special permits that would be required that, would give the planning board discretion to deny something if they wanted to, or put conditions in that they might not have if they didn't have to do a special permit.
So those are the benefits to it being commercial, or those are the benefits to it being
industrial.
Okay. So what were the arguments about keeping it commercial?
Well, it was more about what what negative uses or perceived negative uses would be in industrial. And those do include things like auto body shops, things like that. One thing that came up about commercial as opposed to industrial, which is governmental buildings can't go in industrial by our zoning bylaw, but they can go in commercial. But that was the one thing. And I think it was just the point some people made, which is true, is like the uses that are at Blue Star now, which is zoned industrial, could have been allowed under commercial zoning. It just would have needed an extra special permit. And that's true. Warehousing can go under commercial by special permit. But again, the problem is if you want another Alnylam, you can't do it in commercial. That's a prohibited use.
So it sounds like there's some interest. I mean, to have blank, to have Representative
Barrows?
who's on the call? Yeah, Barrows on the call.
Well,
there must be some sort of interest somewhere.
Well, and I had spoken with him briefly, and he said he's been working with DOT to try to sell that site for about 10 years. So I don't know that I have not heard from anybody that there's a buyer out there. DOT hasn't said it. He hasn't said it. It's just, it's becoming a very valuable property. And they own, they're still going to maintain the salt shed and a couple of the other operations, the small operations they have there. But from our end, as you know, the town was working to try to get that property for the last 3 years since I've been here. And again, I don't think there's as far as accessibility goes, there's no better site other than Blue Star. I mean, this goes right, I mean, you can't
right
get
off the
better
highway.
Right on 123 and 495. So it's a great site. I mean, we have other industrial sites, but nothing like that. And this site also doesn't seem to have the environmental restrictions that some of our other sites have. I mean, I was showing them last night over on the industrial area off of South Washington. There's a whole lot of wetlands through there. A lot of those sites can't be touched. They're industrial, but you can't develop them, or they're developed, but they're nowhere near the size. The wetlands take up such a high percentage of some of those lots. So you're not coming close to what, you're not going to ever get the maximum of a lot that has, wetlands on it. And this has some, but they're mostly across, right near the Canoe River, which you're going to have to protect anyway. So it's got a lot of good things going for it.
Well, that's good. Well, thank you for that update. Anyone else have any questions, or if you were in attendance, any comments?
Paul, just for clarification, you said the planning board recommended it. That's for the town meeting coming up in
Yes.
April.
So when they, May 8th.
Sorry.
Yeah, so they will, so when the chair gets up, they will read that they recommended the article is written in the warrant. So
Okay.
as industrial,
What was the vote?
6-0. One of the members had to recuse himself because he lives nearby.
Excellent. I mean, I know when it came before us and we supported it, we didn't even talk about it being commercial, I don't believe. So I thought that was an interesting point to bring up. Okay, so if no other questions, we'll move on to, this is going to be a nice short meeting. I know, I'm exhausted. I could use a short one finally. I say that and I'll watch something will happen and we'll be on here until 9 o'clock. So Michael had the business survey part and he wasn't on last week and not on now, but the summary of that was that the survey that was done by Serped was focused more on the impact from the pandemic, not necessarily what we were looking for, and understanding what folks were interested in bringing to the town, whether it was from an employee perspective of being an employee within Norton, or like working in Norton, or a resident in Norton. So we'll follow up on that. I don't know, unless anybody has any of the initial documents from Michael on that, the list of questions for us to go through. I know I don't have it readily available.
It would
Okay.
take me a while to dig them out.
Yeah, that's when we like were first meeting, right? I remember
Yeah.
last time we talked about it, we were in the selectmen's meeting room.
We were, yeah.
It's a long
And I
time
think
ago.
it started in the break room.
The kitchen, yeah. And then we were promoted to the other
Yeah.
meeting room.
Ah, the good old days.
Right, exactly. I was thinking about that, like how weird it'll be to go back into in-person meetings. But then I'm like, well, we don't really have any place to meet. So
No,
unless we go back into a kitchen, and we can't be socially distant in that little tiny kitchen area.
yeah.
If we want to
Hopefully we-
pretend, we can all
hopefully-
come to this meeting with a mask on.
Hopefully we don't have to be socially distant for that much longer.
Right. You're so positive.
We could probably do a library or something too, if they have
Yeah,
availability.
Yeah.
I think they're gonna have to be a little bit more flexible about letting us use that room. I know they have programs in there and, they're in support of the library, but from what I understand, back when, we were looking for meeting space on occasion, we actually had to get approval by the trustees, like the trustees had to sign off on it every time.
Mm.
Yeah.
You couldn't just give them like a schedule in advance and ask for a bunch of them all at once.
You could, and we did.
Okay.
We actually had some dates that we were scheduled there right before we got sent online for the pandemic.
Yeah.
And they would come back and say, we have a program here. We've got something running. It ends at 7:30. If you could start late, you can have it. But that every request had to go to the trustees for approval.
Wow.
Yeah.
This is going to be a big problem when we get back. I mean, we've got look at the meetings we've had this week, all of us, right? Look at
Yeah.
last night.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna wind up we'll be in somebody's garage, literally, just
You'll
so
be
we
on-
could say it was an open meeting.
Right, right.
You'll be on the second floor in our offices.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not a great space.
That's not a good space at all. I prefer like my backyard or something.
Yeah, well, at
Right.
least with the second floor, you don't have to worry about being drowned out by the meeting below, because there is no meeting below anymore.
Right. Just the
So-
vacuuming of the cleaners, which seem to happen all the time.
Yay, you're gonna get that no matter what.
Yeah. It'll be the media center, right? That'll be one of our big locations. I do have on my list, and I know Sandy mentioned it to me probably like, I don't know, 8 months ago about updating two things. One is, well, Sandy reminded me about updating the emergency remote participation policy right now that we put in place after we declared the emergency in March of last year, that needed updated. But also too, we still have the remote participation policy that the board approved. I know it must have been a year and a half now, right? That we can certainly update too. I mean, the thing is going to be what the state requires, like, and I know I was on a call with Laura Ely and some of her team in respect to, I asked the question about now that we've proven that we can meet virtually and it's actually increased participation like across the state. Now, there are some people who are still having some challenges with it. But overall, I mean, meetings of 30 people just didn't happen before, right? Like we've had, I mean, on the one select board meeting, I think we had 70 people. Like we were lucky to get, 10 people in the room. So I think that there's a huge benefit and accessibility to people. And the question will be is, does that the requirement to have a quorum in person stay in place by the state? And if it doesn't, I think, we have really all the opportunities that we want to continue in a virtual fashion without meeting that requirement. It's going to be meeting that requirement. You're going to have like for us, right? We'd have to have 4 people somewhere else, which is, it's kind of silly, but we'll see what they do.
One good thing though, I'd spoken recently to Jason at the media center, and they will be capable of, at least with they can still do a hybrid meeting. So they will have capabilities to do Zoom at an in-person meeting. So whether or not board members still have to be in attendance, the public could still use Zoom, just use of a laptop, and then it, in the spaces where they have their monitors, that monitor can be the tool by which the chair can interact with members through Zoom. So that's a real bright spot for us.
Yeah.
We had 2 weeks ago, we had 85 people on the planning board call. We had 65 last night, and even the media center cannot accommodate 85 people.
Right. Well, all your meetings used to be in the middle school, right? The
In the
planning board
auditorium.
meetings.
We had a couple there, but that's a really hard thing. You have to go, you have to, register through the school, and you hope the custodial staff knows that you have a meeting, because we almost lost one night because they didn't know. I do not want to go back there. It's just too difficult, and it's just,
The sound wasn't good. I can tell you that on the other end. I mean, it was
No,
fine being in the room when it wasn't 90 degrees.
right. They've added some mics, I know, at the media center, but I don't know. I really would rather be, that'll probably be a site that if we can go, I mean, obviously COVID's going to determine that, but yeah, I think a lot of us are going to be, trying to get to the media center and to the library. And I guess the media center, though, they do have the smaller room in the back too. So,
Mhm.
you could have 2 meetings there going on, I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, Jason would have to determine that, but
The library has the video issues, limitations, the live feed.
oh, well,
I mean, it doesn't, you can still have it, right? Like you don't,
I think
we
the-
broadcast live, but we don't have to.
I think Norton Media Center would probably pull their equipment out of the select board room and then figure out which is going to be the most likely space for most of the meetings and then set it up there.
We've talked about that, and they said the equipment is somewhat old.
Oh.
because we figured we'd be able to move that too, because it's quite a bit of expense to get something in the library for that. But again, I mean, we could do it at the library. There's nothing holding us back as long as it's posted and people have, the right to come and join in person. That's all that's required. It's not required that we broadcast.
And they let
live.
us. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. That's a big thing too. Otherwise, actually, what would be nice is to have a meeting in their little gazebo out back.
Done it.
Be a nice little area. I know. I know. That was a difficult meeting though, wasn't it? If I remember.
Yes, that was the good little communist incident.
Those words
Wait.
together just.
Hold on. Wait.
Uh-oh. Is it a memento?
It is. I had it made.
What's it say?
Oh my
The little
God.
communist. That's awesome.
I have thick skin and a sense of humor.
Okay. Anyway, see, we could go here all night. We really could. The business guide review, Denise. You want to talk about it?
Yeah, so, and I apologize, I need to dig up the meeting minutes, but Paul had a page already set up, if I remember correctly, that had all the same information that we were gonna put in the business guide.
Mhm.
So are we still going forward with the business guide? I don't remember if we left off with that, or are we just gonna use Paul's page as a
I thought we
reference.
left off with it's good to have something in hand, and this would be that something in hand.
Okay, so all I'm doing is updating what I have with the information that Paul had from his page then, right?
I think just from the contact perspective, making sure it's the same, right? And
Okay.
I think we're going to add in links to the page, right? Back into the updated. And I don't know, Paul, did you guys change the URL? Because I thought Anthony had that link in there, but we might want to move it somewhere else and then add to it about like the, the different tools that you've put on there since, because you've had quite a bit of growth in that perspective.
So
Go ahead,
Paul.
Denise.
no, go ahead.
No, let's go.
I was just gonna say, so I will update that and send it out before the next meeting. I apologize on that one. I just couldn't remember where we left off with it. Because I do remember that it seemed like it was duplicate of what Paul already had on his page, and I couldn't remember if we were going forward with the in-hand brochure or not.
So something that we use as like a takeaway when we meet with folks,
Okay.
if they come in person. Is that, no, I'm asking,
Oh,
is that the intent?
I mean, that was the discussion, but certain, Paul, if you have something else in mind.
No,
Let
I
us know.
thought, Denise, did I not, I had made some edits
You
to
did.
that. Did I send them along? Okay. They were
Yeah,
just
I remember
mostly
seeing 'em.
updates and, like people who aren't here anymore.
Do we want to pull it up, Denise, and just look at it real quick?
yeah, hang on one second. Let me see if I can.
Anybody want to do a contest, see who can find it fastest? I'm trying to think of what a prize could be, but I don't think.
They get to
Presented
leave at 8:30?
FinCom.
What
Yeah,
was that, Laura?
Nothing?
Be done at 8:30, is that what you said?
Yeah, they can leave at 8:30.
about 8:15.
I think we'll be done well before 8:30.
All right, holding you to it.
I can tell you number 8, we have nothing on, even though Denise sent it to me, and I reviewed it. I made a couple changes and it was ready to go. And then I got sidetracked with something else and didn't look at it again.
That happens.
It
I cannot find it in my usual folders, and I don't want to keep everyone hanging, but I will look for the email from Paul, because I do remember, Paul, that you did send a few small red lines to it and stuff. So I'll make sure that I send out with your red lines, and then I'll add any additional red lines based on the discussion we just had and send it around for one last review.
Okay. Do you want me, oh, I had another update on another marijuana thing. I forgot. Sorry, I was just looking at my email. Do you want me to search for the email, Denise?
No, I mean, I think my problem is that I'm on my work computer right now, and so getting to my personal emails is harder.
I'm wondering too, if Paul sent it to your town email.
Yeah, I would have done that. I can
Right.
send it. I can see it right here and I will,
Oh, you have it? Do you want to
Okay.
share it real quick, Paul? Oh, I have it too. 310. You want to share it real quick?
I can. Let me just, while I'm trying to email it, I'll just send it back, send it again. And then we'll just open it up. Make sure that's it. And before I email it, yep, that's it. So I'll just get that back out there, but. Yeah, I mean, if you want, I can share it.
Yeah,
It'll be
please.
my version of it. So, but Denise, if you, can you enable sharing?
You can, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I don't know why it's
it defaults to that.
sometime.
Yeah.
Okay, you should be all set, Paul.
Okay. And Denise, you want to walk through this then?
So this is the cover page. Just kidding. Denise, you're muted again. Did you know that?
I know, sorry, my youngest and my husband are walking in right now, making a lot of ruckus, so I was trying to keep
No,
it on
that's
me.
okay.
Those were just a couple. Oh, I'm sorry, Denise, you tell me where you want to start.
No, I mean, I think this is just the introductory page, a brief little description of the town. Okay, I think it's pretty self-explanatory. And these are the contacts in town of who folks would contact if they had a question in the various key departments having to do with economic development.
Yeah, and the formatting is going to get pretty wonky with some of the edits. So
The benefits of the town of Norton, kind of bullet pointed over here.
sorry.
No, that's fine. Some statistics around, or some additional information and statistics around population size, transportation, obviously tax rates, government, etc. Maybe we'll wait until after Saturday to update that.
I was going to say that might need updated too. I was waiting to see who was going to say it.
I'll write this TBD. How about that? All right.
And so I think this.
Can I ask, does some of that stuff matter? Like I just happen to see this is 9 pages long. Are there things that we can like cut out?
I was just thinking that I was looking at that, and even if we don't cut it out, if I could probably reorganize the information a little bit to make it to shorten it a bit. Like that page we were just on, it was all in one column. I could probably make it like 2 columns to.
Yeah. And some of this stuff, a lot of that, like the data, we have it on the website too. So
yeah.
You know.
So maybe we point them to the website instead of putting everybody's name and then have to update, you know, when Sandy is chair of the EDC.
Yeah, especially if they're going to be, there's going to be regular updates to that. The website's going to be maintained probably more regularly than this is going to be. So it's better to point to the website. You're right. Okay. Good point.
I mean, this is kind of like a packet, right? Like we're handing them an 8.5 by 11 packet versus like a little brochure.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's formatted, I believe, to be like a narrow brochure size, but yeah, you're right. I think it's going to be thicker than just like a 3-fold kind of a thing. But you know, to Laura's point, I guess where would we be using this? Would it be, you know, going to industry conferences and then passing this out? Would it be? I don't know where we'd be using this pamphlet, right? Versus directing people to go to Paul's website.
I mean, I think it could be that. I think just like when we meet with people in person, I know, Paul, a lot of people come to you, even to have it, I don't want to say necessarily give it out electronically, but like just to have it on hand with somebody who might be interested. Like this, does this just talk about opening a business, or do we have things in here that kind of talk about how we support existing businesses?
I think it was about more opening a business, and we didn't really put a lot of information about like the steps to go through for opening a business, because it is so varied depending on is the building existing, is it not existing, what kind of business is it, what's the area. So there was a lot of, I think it was hard to kind of put a clear path on here. So
Mhm.
it was more about, if you're interested in opening a business, pretty much go see Paul or Mike.
Right. Paul, can you keep scrolling down?
Yeah. Oops, sorry.
Is there anything that would be beneficial for us to kind of repurpose it to be like a resource for businesses in town? So if we did like go and visit or introduce ourselves, we can provide it. I don't know. It could be no. That could be the answer, but just asking.
I could see it as being potentially useful for an in-person meeting as a takeaway, but more to just so they know who to call, where to go, what the next steps are, general overview. But basically, here's the website, here's all where the complete information is, here's Paul's, name and phone number, Mike's name and phone number, and maybe just general numbers for the, building and inspections or conservation, things like that, in case there were questions that came up. But I'm thinking more of literally a pamphlet, like
Like a trifold.
takeaway.
Okay.
This came from, wasn't this based on something Mansfield did?
Yeah, I think so.
And what do they use it for? Do we know?
It's their website.
It's on their website?
Yeah.
No,
They've
but
got
I
a
mean,
whole-
do they have a paper copy of it that they use, or is it just posted on their website?
I think
I
you can
don't
download it.
recall. Yeah. I remember us being impressed with their website and how it looked and the information that was contained in it. So
I think it originally started, if I remember correctly, in the very early days. I think Mike Units talked about at one point that he had a pamphlet that he would, I thought at these industry meetings and stuff, that he would hand
He
out.
had that packet, right?
Yeah,
Like a tri-county, some sort of packet.
I think so. Yeah.
I vaguely remember that. That was
Yeah.
a kitchenette meeting.
like data,
Yeah,
there
it was
data on Norton in it.
very early days, but yes.
Yeah. Okay. Paul, you want to keep just scrolling?
Yep. And we're soon to have a business certificate as an online permitting, as part of our online permitting process too. So that may be well, we don't really reference the online permitting on here, so.
We should though.
I think so. That's a good point. I think it's fair, maybe under where we have the building permits.
Do we have a resources section that just lists like sites?
I was gonna say, if we can at least put a link in here for the online permitting, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Paul, is the expectation that most of the permitting will go electronic at some point?
Well, most of the permitting now is electronic. I mean, buildings been on for 2 years.
Mhm.
Health has been on 2 years. We got on a year ago. Conservation's coming on soon. So I know we're working. We should be getting the business certificates into permitized too. I mean, that should be coming up. We were told it's coming soon from the group that runs permitized. So yeah, I mean, I personally, I mean, any license, like even the select board, I can't speak for the whole town, but if you're issuing liquor licenses, why not put it on permitized, put it in one
Right.
repository? And and it makes it easier for us. So one of the discussions we had about business certificates was making sure that building commissioner gets notified. So that way, he knows, if something's coming up that he might, that he knows if he hasn't received a building permit, he might need to make a phone call, might not have to either, but, or like, myself, it might, or we need to make sure that, if a business is going in, make sure that it's allowed in that zoning district, things like that can happen. So, getting that, I know there's budget issues regarding that, or, everything has a cost with it, but it's been a wonderful tool for us.
Mhm.
And the good thing too is we're working on this. Well, actually, if you go to the building commissioner's website, you can actually, there's a public facing website from it that you can see the permits. And we're trying to do the same thing right now with our stuff in planning. So that way the public can see everything from the special permits, the site plans, they can just see the files. And, it's just transparency.
I
Right.
love that, Paul. That's fantastic.
We're using Dropbox, but it adds a lot of steps for us to have to put it in Dropbox for the boards, put it for the public, because they can't be the same, and mistakes have happened. And we've had a couple problems with Dropbox lately. So we would just rather have it in one place. Everybody sees it, and, but we want people to see our information.
No, I agree. And I like the idea of putting like licenses in there, because how many times just, a couple of times we've talked about the alcohol licenses, did we have to go through, well, what are the stores and what are their licenses versus like having a database where you could just run it and see what's there, right? And present it. Just makes it easier.
Yeah. Yeah, sorry, I had to, this got into my territory here.
I was gonna say, yeah.
But I did add the permitized login right there. So, anyway.
No, this is great. I don't think I saw these red lines, Paul. So that it must have gone to my town email, and that's, I'm still trying to figure that out. But
yeah, this one was where development opportunities is. I mean, this is getting kind of old. I mean, Commerce Center's pretty much built out now. Blue Star, I mean, we're getting to go to phase 2. So that could certainly be maybe at some point. Yep. Oh, I got to put Reed and Barton in there. Sharon, a week can't go by without.
Oh my God, get that out. Right. We are not, get that off of there.
No.
That cannot go in this.
All right.
A great redevelopment opportunity on a radioactive or contaminated site. Come on.
Renee, that is, don't make that comment, because that site isn't the radioactive.
It's not radioactive, no.
It is not that. And the assessment is, it's not that severe of it's the contamination is very treatable. It's not.
You keep saying that until we hear about a certain chemical that's very difficult to get out of the ground.
But a lot of those happen naturally too. So I'm just trying to do my part to try to help get that site redeveloped. That's what this is all about.
I mean, I think this whole section, don't we have this linked? Isn't it linked on your site now? Where, as opposed to putting in information to your point that's going to be outdated.
Yeah, we have all of
this.
Have
the reference. So I think, like,
well,
especially when you listed that this information is old, because the other thing too is, while we might have these areas, right, from a perspective of development, there might not be anything more to develop, but that doesn't mean that there's not a building that's available, right?
Right.
So I think this whole section here can just be like a resource link back to your page.
Right.
Yep.
And maybe the is it the GIS map, whatever it's called, but maybe that would be a good link to have here as well.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
Yeah.
that definitely would be. This
Yeah.
is weird how it's kind of smashing it together.
oh, there it is, right? too. Norton GIS map. Yeah.
Well, again, this is when, I did strike through or track changes, so it just throws it off. But I mean, other than Blue Star and Commerce Center, we don't, all these others we have information on. So we have it right on we have it on our departmental pages, so everyth's there if people want to see it too, so.
Okay.
Hey, Paul, is on the marijuana overlay district, I thought I ran across like one of the old draft bylaw documents. Have we pulled all that old stuff off?
We'd have to look.
Okay.
I haven't maintained it.
Could
Nicole,
you ask Nicole
yeah,
to just take a peek and when is the overlay actually going to hit the GIS? I know that they did the first part of the work, right?
I've given it to Denise Ellis.
Mhm.
She manages the contract with AppGeo. So they have it. I don't know when, because they only do one update a year. So they have it, but I don't know when it's coming in, and I want to get that up there.
Okay. Yeah, if we can, I mean, like the overlay, the map, I think is fine, but I think that whatever version is out there of the bylaw is not correct, if I remember. So if we could just have her pull that stuff down,
Yeah.
that would be great. And the other thing too is, I don't know, I have to talk to Lucia too. I don't even think that's been approved by the AG yet.
It hasn't.
Everything from October. So we need to figure out that status. And
Right.
I know Lauren opined on the changes that we're pushing forward, and we still can push forward
Yeah.
with them, but that ends up with, we have 2 outstanding updates that haven't hit yet.
Right.
So I can always get you the final from the warrant if we want to post that up, just so people can reference it, because it really is nowhere else.
That I believe is on the page. We have it.
Okay, can you check? Because I
Yeah.
thought it was an older version, but it could have been weeks ago that. Let me rephrase that. It could have been months ago, but I feel like it was.
I
Not that
put it
long.
on my calendar for tomorrow. We'll take a look.
Okay, I appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Mhm.
Now I have that radioactive song in my head, by the way. Okay, so Denise, you're gonna take a crack to minimize. You're muted. I think you said reformat, but you said a whole bunch of other words in there.
I said red line and reformat a little bit the brochure and then send it back out again.
Yeah. Do you think that you can put it in like a pamphlet format?
I will try.
Does anybody else on here have any of those skills?
I have access to Publisher, but I'm not great at it. But I'm certainly willing to give it a try.
I think I'm trying to look.
I was gonna say, it sounds like a socially distanced subcommittee.
Yeah, and I am very raw at the software. I had to use it. We lost an admin and we needed something updated, and I got tagged it. And I made do, but I don't really know how the software works very well.
I can try. I know I've done one before. I just pulled up the format for it, so I think I can. I'll give it a first crack, and you can tell me that it's horrible if it is.
I was gonna say, if you can get the content down, I have a friend who does a great job with that. So I'm sure she'd be happy to make it look better.
I completely forgot about this. If we want photos, so I had told Anthony this, and I don't think I ever told anybody else this. I have a friend in town who takes some really, really amazing photos, and he basically has said, just tell them which ones we want to use. And we're perfectly allowed to use any of the photos that he's taken of Norton, and he takes some gorgeous ones. So if you wanted to incorporate photos into it,
Okay.
Yeah, that'd be
just a
nice.
suggestion.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, if you want to look, it's Alan Litchfield.
Yes, I've seen his pictures before. They're beautiful.
They are, and he's like a camper and a kayaker, so he's like literally out on the water getting really interesting shots that not a lot of, you don't see too often. So, and he just said, let him know which ones he wants. He'll get us the correct size and resolution and everything else, and we can just throw a little photo credit in the brochure somewhere.
Okay.
Perfect.
I'm happy to do some proofreading if you'd like. If you think it'd be helpful.
You're signed up.
Okay.
Denise is taking down your name.
You're ready.
Yeah, I'm kind of anal with that stuff, so have to rein me in.
It could be a little competition. Okay, awesome. Well, thank you. So Daisy, 2 weeks, 2 weeks seems kind of short. Do you need more time, or you want to shoot for 2 weeks?
I will shoot for 2 weeks.
Okay. I'll put it on the agenda, and then you can go in and take it off if you want to.
Okay. Laura, where would I get the pictures from? Does he have a website that I could
No.
look?
I forget where he posts most often. It's either Connect or Norton, Mass. And if you just do a search by his name, he's posting quite a bit.
Okay.
So if you, and I've given him, when I asked him, I said, when we decide we're getting ready to do that, just tag him in the photo and say, Alan, this is one of the pictures Laura wants,
Okay. Okay.
and tag me in there.
All right, I will. Thanks.
Sure.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. Okay. So the next item we're skipping, if I could go back quickly on the update. I did send you guys last night at some point a couple emails on the Oasis of Tranquility. And Paul, I don't know if Nicole was able to set up a Dropbox. There's a lot of documents. Some of them are pictures. Some of them, I think I put in snapshots that had like our bylaw. There was some confusion during the last call about hours of operation. I just clarified with the applicant that the hours of operation that we listed were specific to retail sales, not to any of the manufacturing or delivery operator times. But if you can take a peek at that over the next couple of weeks, so we can just come back and talk about it. I think we had quite a bit of questions from the first meeting. I don't know that anything that came through was with the exception of the delivery operator license business plan. I think that was the only one that I saw that actually answered one of the questions that we had. So, and then we'll figure out what the next steps are. And I don't know too, I'd ask you guys to take a look at, I saw something within one of those documents about the whole greenhouse. And I can't remember exactly what the comment was in the email that she provided, but I felt like it raised more questions than answered questions, right? Because we primarily in New England have like growth facilities, like hardened facilities, not a greenhouse.
There was a comment in there that currently it's not allowed in a greenhouse. So all of the growing is in structured buildings. But they're hoping or thinking it will change in the coming years. I think I read that comment in one of those pages.
And was that specific to Massachusetts? Like it wasn't clear to me
I didn't see it specific to I didn't see Massachusetts specified on it, but it had to do with security concerns, I think.
Oh, right, because the wall and cameras and making sure that people were on video, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know why that couldn't be managed through a greenhouse.
Was it this line, the right now in Massachusetts, all the facilities are indoors rather than in greenhouses because of security issues. I expect
the
over
one.
the next few years, greenhouses will be allowed to produce cannabis.
Yeah, that's the one.
That sounds like it.
Yep.
I don't know if there's any CCC regulation on that or not, but you know, the funny thing, you guys, I know Sharon and Christine, you don't know this, but do you guys remember my friend that came on when we did the info session? My friend Lauren, that's a nurse. She,
Oh, yeah.
oddly enough, she texted me at 6:49 tonight and just asked me about like whether or not we've granted a license for a grow opportunity and if we're reviewing applications and stuff. And it's weird, I haven't talked to her in it's been a while. It's actually probably been since like New Year's. Maybe something on St. Patty's Day, but it's kind of odd that she texted me that. And then we're talking about the grow facility, but I was going to ask her, I'm going to call her later. I was going to ask her about if she knew anything about it. And then you remember the gentleman that she had introduced us to, whose name escapes me, but he had the large grow facility in Maine. I think he gave us probably more information about, you know, what we need to consider from a cultivation perspective than anyone, like the filters and the maintenance and the problems and things like that. And I think Laura's trying to think of his name. I remember brown
I can
hair.
see I can see the logo.
Yeah. I feel like I'm getting so old. Like I can't remember anything. I don't know if it's like the constant. Like I realized the other week, I think I left my house one day out of the entire week. I'm like, this is weird.
Pasco.
Yes. But what was his name?
His name? Hang on.
You know what? I bet you I have it in my phone. Probably under that.
Let's see it here.
Edward Phipps.
No, I wouldn't have remembered that.
No. Casco
could just-
Botanical.
I could just see the logo.
Yeah. Teamwork. So anyway, I was going to reach out to him too, because I honestly, I don't know anything from a greenhouse perspective. Like I wouldn't feel comfortable making any sort of a recommendation without getting some further information for the group. I don't know how you guys feel about it, but I think it's an unknown, and I'm not quite sure, given the, you know, the many discussions that we had with residents about the potential, you know, odor nuisance and some other things. Like, I want to be sure that we're making the right decision. So
Yeah, security is paramount.
yeah, definitely. Okay, so thank you for allowing me to go back and just give that update. I saw it when I went to look for that business guide. I saw the Oasis emails in there and I forgot to mention it. Okay, so the next item, and we can, I know it's already 8:12, we can certainly push these, but maybe you just talk about, so we listed out a few items for objectives and priorities this year. I know we've talked about a lot of other things. I think maybe Paul, I don't know, do you have any updates on a rapid recovery grant? Anything that you know from I know timing, right? They're looking at August to have a plan in place.
Yeah, so we are right now in the assessment mode, right? We're in the assessment phase. So we have asked, we mailed out brochures to all the businesses on West Main Street, between Home Plate back to the center, to take an online survey. The consultant said right now when I heard from them a couple of days ago, there were 9 survey responses, which he said seems to be about average with other communities they're working with. So we mailed them out. I went to as many as possible door to door, but a lot were closed. A lot were only open by appointment, and some others, like dental offices, I was like, well, with COVID protocols, I don't want to be just going in there. But so I handed out, but a lot of them, and then those I have emails. So some places got 2 hits, some got 1 hit. So, but the consultant is looking at data about the town to help them put things together. We're going to wait to hear about the surveys, and then we'll start working on some community event to try to get more direct feedback from people. I don't know what that's going to look like yet, but that's the direction. So we're in process. We're right where we need to be at this point.
And Paul, when you say community event, like, is that seeking feedback from residents, not necessarily
Oh,
business owners?
Just the businesses, sorry.
Okay,
Right, it's just the businesses along those, in that district. And it could maybe, I know we're gonna have a public, Zoom event. I mean, obviously, well, we have to figure out how that gets run, but, be probably a combination of that event and an online survey, something like that to help collect feedback from the businesses. So we'll be doing that, in the next month or two.
okay. Thank you.
Mhm.
So it sounds good, sounds promising.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Excellent, I'm too. I think that will help the next item too, the partnership with existing Norton businesses. I don't know. I don't think we're gonna stop it here tonight, but I don't know how the best approach is going to be to this once we kind of really outline what we want to do here on doing it during COVID, right? I think with some of the establishments, it'll be easy, like those like restaurants, but to Paul's point, there are some that we're not going to want to just like barge in on or, try to form in-person relationships at least. I don't know what that's going to look like. I know, Laura, you're optimistic, as is Peter. I just keep seeing like what's happening outside of the US, and it feels like we're starting all over again, but I'm optimistic. But
Renee, can we at least start with like getting a listing of all the businesses, and maybe bucket them as priorities, right?
yeah, I think we talked about that. What's the best place? Was it Lucia? Was it Denise? Who was the best place to get that list?
I think we're gonna go through Permatize and start from there and build it from there.
We're going to go through what, Laura?
Permatize, the online permitting.
Well, we haven't put the business certificates on there yet. So though I'm not aware where, well, I guess you would have the liquor licenses. Well, again, they're not on Permatize. So we could certainly get the active list of the active business certificates. I actually have a fairly current one already. That may be a starting point, and then group like businesses.
Okay.
Yeah, does it have like size of businesses and stuff too, Paul?
No, it's what I see is pretty limited. It's the
Okay.
name, the owner, contact information.
Okay. Let's start there.
Oh, does anybody have that information? Like, is it somewhere else recorded as part of the business certificate or no?
That's all public. Oh, no, I don't know that we would.
What do we review for the board? Oh, it's just the liquor license. I was gonna say it's pretty substantial documentation, but I don't. Well, yeah, I mean, let's start and then we'll figure out what data elements that we want to track and if there's a way to get them or if we just cold call and get them that way.
What is it we're trying to achieve?
Go ahead, Denise.
I thought it was just like assessing like how is the business doing? Is there anything that we can do to help you answer any questions or address any concerns that you have in the town? Or yeah, I thought it was that like just kind of general touching base, right?
So you don't really need that the amount of employees, right? I mean,
I was just thinking for prioritization, like if there's a lot of businesses and we were trying to prioritize them, right? Maybe size of the business might have an impact on how we prioritize them.
So Mike and I can get something like that. I mean, we don't know the numbers, but we know Alton Island is pretty big. Are we heading toward the direction of having them maybe speak to the group and ask them those questions? Is that what you're thinking?
I think we've talked about that, right? We've talked about them coming to, but we didn't want to like just bring them here without, I don't want to say prepping them, but having some sort of an agenda, right?
Yeah.
So I think we need to think about what that looks like. Like, what are the steps to engage the existing business owners?
Yeah.
And then, go ahead, Denise.
Right, exactly. Like, are there any plans to expand in the next, 5-10 years or, something like that? Like if they've got something on on their wish list of things they'd like to see happen in the future, maybe we have them come in and talk to us and talk about what steps they need to go through for it or something.
We've started, I've been reaching out to, a lot of the bigger employers and actually asking the same questions, what are your needs? I can go back and see if any of them, that includes New England Ice Cream, Horizon Beverage, Valentine Tools. We could certainly, if you'd want, I could certainly see if they'd be wanting to come in and speak to the group and talk more about it. I love the idea of finding out, are you planning on expanding? Because then that gets into my world, that brings in the building commissioner. We can advise them early, here are things you need to be thinking about if you were looking to add on to your building or something like that. But, just so we can find out if they're doing something, and we could point, whether if we can help them or point them to people or resources that might be able to help them get there.
Like, I'd like to know too, if there are any things that present, they're so bright, that present challenges to them, right? Like anything in the bylaws that are worth us considering changing, right?
Yep.
Now granted, that's, that can take a year process with our current form of government, but it's something to think about, especially post-COVID. How many, I think we've allowed 3 different, what's the word I want? Exceptions, right, to the bylaw. So the signage, the outdoor eating, serving alcohol, we've allowed all those things. I imagine there's some other things that if there were some easing of restrictions or whatever the bylaws are, that might make them, more beneficial.
Yeah.
I guess.
It would probably be them telling us, well, here's what we'd like to do. I think where this would end up going is they would say, we want to do this or have more outdoor seating. And we would go, oh, we've got to do this and this based on what the bylaw says or some regulation. So I think that's an effective thing, because then it tells us if our bylaw lines up with certainly today's world, let's face it, our bylaw was written in the 1970s and the original part of it. And I really like the idea, because they're a particular stakeholder group that can help advise us, make improvements to it.
Right. Yeah.
Just even things like, again, they might not be thinking about it, but if they wanted to expand, then it's all of a sudden, well, have you thought about your parking? Have you thought about your stormwater? And one of the things I want to see get out of our master plan is, I want to initiate a rewrite of our bylaw or an assessment, an assessment of it, and then an update to it. I shouldn't say a rewrite. That's an over exaggeration, but things like parking, our bylaw is awful dealing with. I won't bore you with it, but it's so bad. It's so inaccurate and just wrong.
Which one?
Our parking requirements in our bylaw. It's just not accurate. But there are ways of, there are things you can do to have better professional standards for determining parking. Get it more accurate. You certainly don't want it to be too big, because then you get this ocean of parking. It costs them money. It's more stormwater created off of it. There's a whole host of things. We would have to do a pretty good assessment of this code to see, or the bylaw, to see what's wrong with it. But these are things, again, they have economic impacts.
Right.
It'll end up limiting, it ends up really capping any, it ends up capping all development. Certainly in areas like our village center, that becomes a real big issue when you're talking about parcels that aren't all that big.
Okay, perfect. So I captured a couple things.
Paul, how do I sign up to review the bylaws? Because I love reading bylaws.
Oh, boy, you're
Oh, it's the-
one of those people.
I am. If I had the money, I'd go to law school, but
And you didn't run for planning board, and you know who was not running. We lost essentially our parliamentarian.
I was waiting for that to come up.
We have to still, we're not there yet.
It's a
but
long
we would
way.
get a consultant to do it, yeah. But I think it's a great idea.
Paul, why pay a consultant? You got freebie right there.
Oh, there you go. We'll save the town a lot of money.
Well, that's
But-
good to know. So I put that down. So whether or not they're planning any expansion, any challenges with the bylaws, I had listed a couple you mentioned: outdoor seating, signage, parking, stormwater. What other questions that I can just jot down for right now?
You know, even things like employment, you know, there
What do you
might be well, training needs. You know, when a company locates here, there's, you know, they're looking for an eligible workforce, right? So maybe questions along that line too, about what are you looking for in employees? Or, you know, what training are you looking for, education?
Yeah, I mean,
We
Paul,
can't necessarily, I'm sorry. Yeah,
I was gonna
Denise.
say, on the bylaw thing, I know we made a lot of changes because of the pandemic under like emergency exceptions or whatever. Has there been any thought to make some of those changes long term?
I mean, I haven't been part of the discussion, but I know in general, things like outdoor seating, which I know a lot of communities in Massachusetts made changes permanent.
Yeah,
Because we just project now that people realize now we have the ability now in the winter time to have warm outdoor spaces.
Yeah.
So why not? You know,
and people love to sit outside.
Yeah.
When it's
I'd rather
That's
be
nice, right?
outside.
Yeah.
I'd rather be outside too. You know, the other thing I wonder if anybody's thought about is like rooftop seating, right? Like, do we allow that? And could they build a structure to make that happen? Because that would, you know, I know we had a lot of problems initially when we allowed the outdoor seating with the, you know, making sure they had Jersey barriers or something. Like, you know, there were complaints in some areas that the tables were right in like the line of traffic. I don't know, Paul, do we have anything like that? Do we have anything that would prohibit that? Let me ask that.
Well, I think the
question.
thing that prohibits is having short buildings everywhere. That,
Yeah, and there's
But,
not many flat roofs in the Northeast.
yeah, you know, but that's a good question though, because you know, even if you have a 3-story building, why would you prohibit it if the structure, you know, the roof would have to be structurally sound enough to support it.
Oh, right.
No, I mean, but there's a different standards,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So, you know, like, God, I'm getting into the building commission world, but when a building goes above, it's either 3 or 5 stories, building materials change. There's a reason you don't see buildings within like that 4 to 5 story height limit, because it starts to change and the materials are a lot more expensive because they're a lot sturdier, because they have to be a lot stronger. So, you know, but certainly, you know, asking that question about, you know, like with restaurants, would they ever consider doing a rooftop? You know, why not? Right? If the roof could accommodate it, why not? Why wouldn't we allow it?
Yeah.
I mean, if it's safe, obviously, but I you know, that hadn't come up before. We could certainly I could certainly talk to Nick and see if he you know, what covers that.
Yeah, I mean, like, I understand there more than likely would need to be some updates, but it'd be an interesting thing to see if we have any restrictions against it.
Mm.
You know, something that we could tackle beforehand, at least give the opportunity. Okay, anything else? I have the 3 items. I mean, again, we don't have to solve for it tonight, but this is specifically in respect to having, you know, reaching out to existing businesses, having them come to talk to us, like some items that we can, discussion items that we can provide to them. So if anyone thinks that, I mean, we'll talk about it more next week too, or at the next meeting too, but if anyone thinks of anything in the meantime, just let me know and I can throw it onto the list. Okay, so it is 8:29. We have 2 additional items, regional economic initiative and then prioritizing diversity. I don't know if you guys want to continue on to talk about it, or if if you want to pick those up next at our next meeting.
What were those 2 items again? I'm sorry, I got prioritizing diversity. What was one before that?
Regional economic initiative. It's item C under number 7. I know, Paul, that was one that you brought up. And probably, I think it was more in combination with a new group that you're with. I don't know if there's been any activity with that. But let me first ask, it's 8:30. Do we want to continue on or we want to hold these to the next meeting? Because I know a lot of people have had a lot of multiple meetings and many weeks back to back. So I'm not opposed to moving it to the next meeting.
I'll muster if needed, but I've got no issue stopping right now.
Paul, you've been on like, I don't know, 3 or 4 meetings a week, right? Lately?
Just 2 this week.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah,
I
I'm
had
okay.
3 until I left Mondays. Sorry, Denise, what was that?
Okay, I was saying I'm okay with holding it for the next meeting.
Okay. Then hearing no opposition, we'll hold them for the next meeting. The other thing that I wanted to ask too is our next meeting is scheduled for the 21st, Wednesday, the 21st. That's school vacation week. I will be out of town. I don't know if anybody else will. You can continue to have the meeting without me. It's up to you. Or we can change it to another date if others are planning on having some vacation or just personal time. Don't all rush at once.
I'm here.
I'm here too. I'm taking personal time, but not on that day. So
Makes no difference to me either.
Okay, Sandy, are you here? You want to run the meeting?
Yeah, that's time. I'll be around.
Okay. We'll just need to check to see if, were you guys on the meeting before I joined, or does it put you in a meeting?
put us in a hold.
So you're waiting for me?
Yeah.
Okay.
Peter always texts me and says he's waiting. I think he thinks I can let him into every meeting.
Oh, really?
Speaking of which, is he gone?
Yeah, I don't know where he went.
Yeah, he dropped early.
Get a better offer.
I know. What other meetings tonight?
I got a message from him on Facebook about something about the Mansfield Board of Health, so I think he was listening to that.
Oh, we got bumped for a meeting in another
Not
town.
even our own town.
Yeah.
I know. I thought
Yeah.
maybe he went to
Wow.
like the parent teacher meeting at LGN tonight that started at the same time.
A little hurt, but it's okay. We love Peter.
We do. Okay, so Sandy, I'll try to change those settings.
I have a Zoom. I can use my Zoom account if you want.
And you just want to switch okay, that's fine.
Just
If you
the
want to
link,
send
yeah.
the link, then we can put that in the next invite.
Okay.
And Denise said, I don't mind changing that. Where did you go, Denise? There. Changing that or doing the agenda. I just do a save as and then shuffle things around, and then you can take it from there.
Okay.
Or I can submit it just in case, and then if you have modifications, you can revise it and resubmit it.
I doubt we'll have modifications, but okay.
Okay, so Sandy, I'll just wait for your link and then I'll get something posted. So I have for the next meeting, at least the business guide review, discussion on Oasis of Tranquility, and
I have regional economic initiative and prioritizing diversity, right?
yep, so the last 2 goals. And I would say probably more discussion on the partnership one as well, right?
Yep.
To
We
kind
have.
of, to lay out more of a plan. Well, Paul, you're gonna get the list of the folks for the business certificates. Is that just those who file in town, or is it everybody who's in town that have filed with us or the state?
It's any active that is that's filed through the town, so not the state.
How would we get the state ones?
Through Secretary of State, they're the ones who manage it. I don't know.
Can you do an export off the state website?
I was gonna say, you could probably put in, I would imagine you could search by town.
I
Yeah,
wonder if you can
on the sec-
export.
Yeah, you can on the Secretary of State website. You can get that whole list.
Somebody want to try to download that before the meeting and then we can send it out to everyone?
I can do that.
Thank you.
And I'll get the business certificates, the master list.
Okay. And Laura, that was, you're in the state and Paul's going to do the town.
I already have the notes, Renee.
Oh, right. Done. Not writing anything else, but I have to write that down because I have it under next week's agenda.
Okay.
Okay. I'm going to cross my fingers that maybe we'll have some meeting minutes to approve. I will get at least the March 24th. Denise, did you ever get into my Dropbox?
I did, and I will call you after this because I'm struggling with figuring out how to modify or upload new ones, but we'll talk about that offline.
Okay. That sounds good. Okay, so it is 8:35, 8:36. Chair will entertain a motion to adjourn. Adjourn? Yes.
So moved.
Seconded.
Okay.
Laura, I'm noticing a trend that on the motion to dismiss, you're always one of the ones on there.
If you do, I thought it was pretty smart when we were on FinCom the other night, like the chair had said, hey, can we have the same person who motions and seconds? So it's easy to do the notes. And I realized we had one meeting where we did like 4 votes. And so I would copy and paste. It was so much easier when the same people did it. So like we should try to do that too.
Honorary motioners and seconders.
Yes, exactly. Hey, we were gonna do too, I didn't forget about, I know we said we were gonna share the meeting minutes. Potentially, do we have a volunteer to take minutes next week since Denise had last week and this week? I think we were gonna go alphabetically.
Oh, right.
And I think alphabetically that puts Sandy, but she's gonna be running the meeting, so can she have a pass?
I'll do it again next week. That's fine.
You sure?
Yeah.
You just like doing them, don't you?
Well, I don't know. I don't know if I'd say I'd like it.
As you can tell by the list that we have running, it is my least favorite thing to do. Like seriously, my least favorite thing. I have all the notes written, but to actually then transcribe them, what I need to start doing is putting them in my Rocketbook, and then I can send them to myself and it'll transcribe them automatically, and then I can just like put in, returns where I need to put in returns, do a couple formatting things.
I don't even know what you just said. What's a Rocketbook?
Oh, you don't know what Rocketbook is? Let me adjourn the meeting and then you can hang on. Okay,
All right.
we had a motion and a second. Roll call, Denise,
Yes.
Laura,
Yes.
Sandy,
Yes.
Sharon,
Yes.
and I too vote yes. So we are adjourned at 8:38 p.m. Thank you guys for your time. Anyone who wants to learn more about Rocketbook, feel free to stay on, but I'm going to end the recording.
See ya.
Right, everyone have a great rest of the week.
You
Good night,
too.
Paul.